It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
Next, we've got a question from Lynn. She says, should she do a 3-month or 6-month emergency fund? She doesn't know how to decide which because it's going to take a long time for her to save up that 6-month fund, and she is itching to put more money into her Roth 401k. So how do you parse through that decision when you're in those earlier steps of the financial order of operations?
Great.
Do you want to start it off?
Yeah. So 3 to 6 months. One, kudos to you for thinking through building up your emergency fund. It matters. It's one of the most boring, not fun parts of making sound financial decisions. But frankly, it is one of the most important because emergency funds are there for emergencies, right? We don't know when they're coming. We don't know when they're going to happen. So kudos to you for recognizing it's something important to work towards. So then you got to answer the question, should I be 3 months? Should I be 6 months? Am I somewhere in between? Here are a few little rules of thumbs to help you. I think the first place to look is your vocation. If you were to lose your job today, how quickly could you find another job doing that same type of thing? If you're someone who's like highly employable, I think this is true because my mom was a nurse. I think nurses are like a highly employable field. If you were to lose a job, it's pretty easy to go find a job that's an in-demand vocation. Then you could err on the leaner emergency fund because it's pretty easy for you to have to be able to go like find something else. If you're a specialist or perhaps you work in a job and you're a super high earner in that specific job and it would be difficult for you to replace that income quickly, then you may want to err over towards the 6-month variety because you want to give yourself time to job search, to go find a comparable job that's going to allow you to get back on your feet. So first thing I'd look at is where you are vocationally. What's something you would look at, Brian?
Well, how many people are counting on this money? I mean, because
Love it.
if you have a significant other and you're both working, well, that's going to make it where you can lean more towards the 3 months because if you lose your job, you have another income source for the household. But if you are the only worker and you have, a spouse and you have children, you can imagine that's kind of stressful that everybody's living off of your income. So that's going to lend itself to going much further to at a minimum 6 months on that. So pay attention to who's counting on this money because that's also going to play into that decision as well.
And I think when you're factoring that in, you got to think about income differentials as well, right? So if you are equally yoked incomes, let's say that you both make $50,000 a year, that's okay. If you have one who has a much higher income and one who has a much lower income, then you have to kind of factor that in as well with the risk that exists to where the family's overall lifestyle is.
And then also it's where you are in life. I think it's interesting. You said you're really trying to get through the emergency reserve so you can get on that tax-free growth of the Roth. That, to me, sounds like you're young and you're focused on building retirement. If you were somebody a little more senior in your life, you had already had built up a lot of assets, but you're quickly approaching retirement. We always talk about 3 to 6 months, but retirees go well beyond that, or people who are getting close to retirement, that you might be at 18 months. We have retirees that do 3 years because their risk profile is so scared that in order to take risks, to have a diversified portfolio, they want to make sure they have enough liquidity to kind of give them that recovery time, even if we hit a very volatile market. But for somebody who's growing their assets, who's in the early part of their working career, 3 to 6 months is a very reasonable amount to consider. And Lynn, hopefully we gave you the variables to kind of play in on that. Reeves, do you have anything to kind of add to that?
No, I thought that was great. It really comes down to your lifestyle. Did you guys have anything to say about her itching to get into more money into her Roth?
There's something I want to say, but I don't know if I can say it. There's something.
You talking about the break glass part of it?
Well, I like to play mental financial games with myself. Whenever it comes to hitting a financial goal, I like to gamify it. It keeps me excited, makes me want to do it. So if your goal, like, you got to get to 3 months. If we're saying that's like the low level, very minimum threshold, get to 3 months and then say, okay, well, once I get to 3 months, let's say that I'm saving $500 a month to get to 3 months, get to 3 months. When I do that, I'm still going to be saving for 6 months, but maybe I'm going to save a little bit more slowly so that I can start putting money into a Roth IRA. So maybe I'm doing 250 into my Roth and 250 into my savings, because if the you-know-what hits the you-know-what, you can get to your Roth IRA assets if you have to. Now, that is a last-ditch effort, last resort thing, but you can always get to the money you put in tax-free and penalty-free. But hopefully, if you've got that 3-month in there and you're building towards that 3 to 6, I think it's okay to start chiseling for that second half of the journey and start getting those Roth dollars working for you.
I like where we were going just then with it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think once you cross that 3 months, that basic boundary, I love when you kind of get to do the best of both worlds.
That's right.
And that could be something, because if it was $500, maybe it's $300 to the Roth, $200 to continue to the savings. I mean, there's all kind of ways you could break it up that really reflected your life, but let you have the best of both worlds. That way you could really be that financial mutant while we're in a down market and feeling like you're buying and investing in that tax-free future, but also still having money just in case it gets rainy outside.